The sun was bleeding orange across the Montana sky when Clara Hayes stumbled out of the barn, one hand clutching the doorframe, the other pressed hard between her thighs. Her white cotton dress, the one she'd worn to church that morning, was torn at the hem and streaked with dirt and hay. Tears cut clean lines down her dust-covered cheeks. I can't close my legs," she gasped, voice cracking like dry leather. Standing 10 feet away, tightening the cinch on his saddle, was Luke McAllister, 36, broad as a barn door, the kind of man who'd been born with calluses and a permanent squint from staring down the horizon. He owned the Double Bar Ranch and every hard mile of land around it. People said he didn't have a gentle bone in his body, but they'd never seen him with a hurt animal. When he heard Clara's broken words, the leather strap slipped from his fingers and hit the ground with a dull thud. He crossed the yard in 4 long strides, boots kicking up dust, his black Stetson shading eyes the color of storm clouds. Clara crumpled before he reached her. She landed on her knees in the straw, legs splayed wide, trembling so hard the ground seemed to shake with her. Luke dropped beside her, one knee sinking into the dirt. "Clara, look at me." What happened? She couldn't. Her head thrown back, mouth open in a silent scream, fingers digging into her own thighs like she was trying to hold herself together. Her dress had ridden high, bruises were already blooming purple along the inside of her legs. Luke's stomach turned cold. He'd seen men get shot who looked less terrified. "Talk to me, darlin'." Did somebody? The word stuck in his throat. He couldn't finish it. Not yet. Clara shook her head violently. No, not a man. Something, inside. A sob tore out of her. "It's moving, Luke. God help me, it's moving." He didn't waste another second. One arm slid behind her shoulders, the other under her knees, careful, Christ, so careful, not to press her legs together. She weighed nothing in his arms, shaking like a leaf in a hailstorm. He carried her into the cool shadow of the barn and laid her gently on a bed of fresh straw he'd forked out that morning. Her breathing came in shallow hitches. Sweat plastered dark hair to her forehead. Luke grabbed the canteen off his saddle peg, wet his red bandana, and wiped her face. "Stay with me, Clara. I'm right here." She grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Don't look. Please." But he was already looking. The hem of her dress had fallen back. Between her trembling thighs, just above the knee, something bulged under the skin, an unnatural ridge pushing outward, sliding slowly, like a creature trying to burrow deeper. Luke's blood froze. He'd seen calves born with twisted limbs, foals with locked joints, even a cow once with a dead twin half absorbed inside her. But this was no veterinary puzzle. This was something that didn't belong in a woman's body. Clara's back arched. She screamed through clenched teeth. The ridge under her skin surged higher, stretching the flesh until it shone white, veins standing out like blue cords. Luke acted on instinct. He yanked his Bowie knife from his belt, flipped it, and used the blunt handle to press, hard, against the thing, trying to pin it, to keep it from going higher. Clara's eyes rolled back. "Stay with me," he barked, voice rough with fear he hadn't felt since Afghanistan. He shoved straw under her hips to elevate her, tore open the front of his shirt, and used it to wipe the sweat pouring off her. Then, with hands that had branded 1,000 calves and stitched up more wounds than he could count, he reached down between her legs. His fingers found heat, fever heat, and something hard just beneath the skin of her inner thigh. Round. Smooth. The size of a large egg, and it pulsed. Clara whimpered. "It's alive." Luke's mind raced. Snake bite. No fong marks. Parasite. Not in Montana. Tumor. Tumors didn't kick like a bronc. He pressed gently, testing. The thing shifted under his fingertips, rolled, like it was trying to get away from his touch. Clara screamed again, legs jerking open wider against her will. "Luke, it's climbing. It's going higher. Oh God, it's going to my..." He didn't let her finish. He slid his hand higher, chasing the movement, until his palm rested just below the crease where thigh met body. There. Stronger now. Faster. Whatever it was heading straight for her core. Luke made a decision the way men on the ranch always did, fast, final, no room for second guessing. "Clara, listen." I'm gonna cut it out. Right here. Right now. You trust me? Her eyes, wild with pain, locked on his. She managed one nod. He grabbed the whiskey bottle he kept for colicky horses, poured it over the blade and over his hands, then splashed the rest across her thigh. She hissed but didn't pull away. On 3, he said, voice steady as bedrock. 1. He didn't wait for 2. The knife flashed. A thin red line opened just above where the thing pressed hardest. Blood welled, bright, terrifying, but Luke had field-dressed deer with less light than this. He worked fast, parting skin, spreading muscle with his fingers. And there it was. Nestled in the meat of her thigh, wrapped in a clear, jelly-like sack, was a fist-sized egg. Leathery. Speckled. Warm as fresh milk. And inside, Luke could see it now, something curled tight, tail twitching, tiny claws scraping against the shell. Clara's body convulsed. The egg pulsed once, hard, like a heartbeat not her own. Luke didn't think. He pinched the sack between 2 fingers, pulled, gentle but firm, and the entire thing slid free with a wet, obscene pop. Blood followed, but not as much as he feared. He dropped the egg into the empty whiskey bottle and slammed the cork in with his palm. Clara sagged against the straw, gasping, legs finally, miraculously, falling together. Luke pressed his ruined shirt against the incision, tying it tight with his belt. His hands shook now, adrenaline crashing through him like a runaway herd. It's out, he rasped. Whatever the hell it was, it's out. Clara's eyes found the bottle. Inside, the egg rocked gently, the thing inside unfurling slowly, scales glinting, eyes black as oil. What is it? She whispered. Luke stared at the bottle, then at the woman he'd known since she was 16 and he was 20, the woman who'd come to his ranch looking for summer work and never really left. I don't know, he said finally. But it ain't from anywhere natural. Far off, thunder rolled across the plains, except the sky was clear. And in the bottle, the creature opened its mouth and made a sound no human throat could ever make. The lantern hung from a nail above them, throwing gold light across Clara's pale face and the blood-soaked straw. Luke sat back on his heels, chest heaving, the corked whiskey bottle clutched in one fist. Inside, the leathery egg rocked harder now, tiny cracks already spiderwebbing across the shell. Clara's breathing steadied, but her eyes stayed fixed on the bottle like it might explode. Luke, she whispered, voice raw, burn it. He wanted to. God help him, he wanted to smash it against the barn wall and pour kerosene over the pieces. But something older than fear stopped him. Curiosity, maybe. Or the same instinct that made him pull a half-dead calf from its mother instead of putting a bullet in both. He set the bottle down between them, just out of her reach. Not yet. Clara tried to sit up. Pain flashed across her face and she fell back with a hiss. It was inside me, Luke. Crawling. I felt it lay that thing. Luke's jaw worked. How long? 3 weeks. Thought it was morning sickness at first. Then the ranch hand's been talkin'. Said I was gettin' thick around the middle. A broken laugh escaped her. Then it started kicking. Not like a baby. Like claws. Luke looked toward the open barn door. The sun had dropped, the sky was the color of a fresh bruise. Somewhere out in the pasture, his mare whickered nervously. He turned back. The night you came to me drunk on peach brandy. 3 weeks ago. You said you'd been down by the old creek. The one runs under the cottonwoods nobody goes near anymore. Clara closed her eyes. I wasn't alone. He waited. There was singing, she said finally. Not words. Just sound. Beautiful. Made my skin feel too tight. I took my dress off. Lay down in the water. Something touched me, cold, then hot. I thought I dreamed it. Luke felt the hairs on his neck rise. Every old-timer in 4 counties had a story about that creek. Kids dared each other to swim there. Most came back crying. Some never came back at all. A sharp crack split the silence. Both of them jerked toward the bottle. A piece of shell the size of a silver dollar had fallen away. A tiny black eye, black and shining, stared out at them. The pupil narrowed, focusing on Clara. She made a small, animal sound. The creature pushed. Another crack. Then another. A clawed foot, no bigger than a hummingbird's, hooked the edge of the shell and pulled. The egg split clean in two. What spilled out was not a lizard, not a snake, not anything Luke had a name for. It was the length of a man's hand, scaled in shifting greens and golds. Wings, thin as tissue paper, unfurled and dried instantly in the lantern light. A long tail curled around its body like a question mark. But the face was almost human. Delicate. Beautiful. Wrong. It opened its mouth and sang. The same melody Clara had heard by the creek, low, liquid, heartbreaking. Clara's body arched off the straw. Fresh blood seeped through Luke's shirt bandage. Her legs fell open again, trembling. It wants back in, she sobbed. Luke, it wants its mother. The creature took one hopping step toward her. Then another. Wings fluttered. It was weak, newborn, but determined. Luke snatched it up by the tail. It shrieked, an impossible sound, like glass breaking inside a church, and twisted in his grip, jaws snapping inches from his wrist. Needle teeth glinted. He stood, holding it at arm's length. You ain't going nowhere near her again. Clara dragged herself upright against a stall post. Kill it. Please. Luke looked at the thing struggling in his hand, then at Clara, pale, bleeding, but alive because he'd cut that egg out of her in time. He carried the creature outside. The night was thick with stars. Crickets had gone silent. Even the wind held its breath. Luke walked to the fire pit behind the barn, laid a bundle of kindling, struck a match. Flames leapt up, hungry. The creature sensed what was coming. It went very still. Then it looked straight at Luke and spoke, not with its mouth, but inside his head, voice soft as a child's. She was lonely. The creek is old. Older than your kind. She only wanted a daughter. Luke's grip tightened. She picked wrong. He dropped the creature into the fire. It did not scream this time. It sang, one last, perfect note that made Luke's chest ache with sorrow he didn't understand. Then the flames took it. Scales blistered. Wings curled like burning paper. In seconds there was nothing left but a twist of ash and the smell of scorched roses. Luke stood there until the fire burned low. When he went back inside, Clara was asleep, or passed out, her legs finally, blessedly closed. The bleeding had slowed. He cleaned the wound properly, stitched it with fishing line and a curved needle, wrapped it in gauze from the tack room. Before dawn he carried her to the house, laid her in his own bed, sat in the rocker beside her with the shotgun across his knees. 3 days later she could walk again. A week later the stitches came out and the scar was a thin pink line. They never spoke of it directly after that. Some nights Clara woke screaming, and Luke held her until she slept again. Some mornings he found her standing at the window staring toward the creek, hand pressed to her thigh where the scar lived. One evening in early fall, she came to him in the barn. The horses were fed, the sky turning rose gold. I'm leaving tomorrow, she said. Luke nodded like he'd known it was coming. Where to? Far as the truck'll take me. Then farther. He wanted to beg her to stay, to say the words he'd never managed in 10 years of wanting her. Instead he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small glass vial. Inside floated a single iridescent scale, the only piece of the creature that hadn't burned. Take it, he said. So you remember it's dead. Clara took the vial. Her fingers brushed his, lingered. I'll remember something else too, she whispered. She kissed him then, slow, certain, tasting of salt and goodbye. When she pulled away, her eyes were steady for the first time since that afternoon in the barn. Burn the creek, she said. Burn all of it. At sunrise she drove away in his old Ford, dust cloud rising behind her like smoke. That night Luke filled 2 tanker trucks with diesel, drove to the cottonwoods, and set the whole ravine alight. Flames roared 100 feet high, painting the sky the color of fresh blood. He stood on the ridge and watched until there was nothing left but embers and the smell of scorched roses. Some say the creek still sings on moonless nights. Some say if a woman walks there alone, she'll come back changed. But no one has. Not since Luke McAllister turned that stretch of land into glass and ash. And somewhere out on the road, Clara Hayes keeps driving, one hand on the wheel, the other closed tight around a tiny vial that catches the light like a fallen star. She never looks back. If this one left your heart pounding and your skin crawling, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I drop a brand new, full-length, twisted tale like this every single week. You don't want to miss what's coming next. See you in the dark.